We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back.
Anywhere you meet me, guaranteed to go
I like
down.
the way you ride with that booty on me.
It's going down.
Going down while you looking lonely.
It's going down.
Come around and it's all on me.
Anywhere you meet me, guaranteed to go down.
So, new year, new intro. Let's get it. I'm not so sure if I'm going to promise to be a brand new me this year, but my reactions are going to be a lot differently. I'm not going to be doing the most. I'm not going to be doing above and beyond, and I'm going to stay in my lane. That is how 2026 is going to be from here out. Either roll with me or I'm going to roll over you or around you. Whichever is easier.
Okay, she headed to the dance floor and she slowly starts out popping it. Song like my wrist piece, everybody got to watching it. Girl, you got that secret treasure, I'm gon' put a lock on it. Don't care what they say, I would be stupid to be not on it.
Watch me flex. So, hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm glad you're here with me today. If you're listening to this from under a blanket or from a parked car where you're just trying to catch your breath, before heading inside, I see you. And today's episode is a personal one. And I'm sorry, I'm starting out a little raggedy, a little raw and messy. But diving right back into the thick of something we all have to face eventually. But no one ever feels truly ready for grief. You know, someone once described grief to me perfectly, and it has stuck with me for a while now. Actually, it was Nene Leakes shading Kim Zolciak's Party City wigs, but I digress. Just because how ridiculous her wigs was, grief is absurd. It catches you completely off guard, and yet it's entirely terrifying and consumes the room. It's not a beautiful, solemn statue. It's awkward, uncomfortable, and strange. This episode, I'm still honoring my recently departed dog, Ethel, because lately the monkey has been sitting heavily on my chest. I deeply and truly miss Ethel. Now, if you knew Ethel or you know Chihuahuas, you know they don't actually know how small they are. I think Ethel genuinely believed she was an 80-pound Doberman. She said I had the coloring of one, so I just am going to be that. She had the spirit of a guard dog and the courage of a lion right up until the service technician actually walked through the door. I miss her. I miss her barking at motion detectors and flies, treating blinking red light like a mortal enemy. I miss the routine of her barking at technicians who came to fix things, putting on this massive show of bravado, and then immediately jumping right behind my legs to hide the second they looked her way. She was fierce. She was a coward. She was brilliant. And she was mine. If I'm being completely honest with y'all, that's what we do here. Missing her isn't the only thing I'm carrying. There's this heavy, suffocating layer of guilt. She passed away from a blockage in her intestines and aspiration of stomach contents. And the thought that plays on loop in my head is, I didn't know. I didn't know enough to recognize what was happening until it was too late. It is a brutal thing, pet loss, because they can't use words to tell us where it hurts. And as their caretakers, we expect ourselves to be a know-it-all. We expect to be vets and mind readers, but we are neither. If you're carrying guilt over loss right now, whether it's a pet, a person, or a situation where you think I should have known, I want you to say this to yourself, and I'm trying to say it to myself too. You cannot blame yourself for not knowing, and then what you know now. Love doesn't give us x-ray vision. I love her. I love her with everything I had, and that counts for something, but I'm still hurt. When you're in this space, there's a temptation to just hit the pause button on existence, and it's massive. You want to continue to just sit out life, and honestly, for a little while, maybe you do, because I know I did. You pull down the blinds and you just stay inside. But here's the hard truth about the middle space. Even when you're waiting for external help, whether assignment of therapists on an app, whether you're on a wait list, or you're waiting weeks for your medications to finally adjust and reach steady state in your system, you still can't completely vanish. You still have to find a way to increase your participation in life. It sounds counterintuitive, right? You feel empty, so how are you supposed to participate? It's not about suddenly throwing yourself a party or pretending you're cured. It's about forcing a tiny bit of momentum, one step at a time. It's choosing one activity you used to enjoy and doing it anyways, like publishing a podcast, even if you feel completely numb while doing it. Go for the walk, make the coffee, text a friend back, create a podcast, publish a new podcast episode, or publish parts of content and then recycle previous content because you talked that much for over an 8-year period. Just saying. You essentially just have to keep that engine idling so it doesn't seize up on your entirety while you wait for the mechanic. You increase participation not because you feel like it, but because it's the bridge that gets you to the next day. So if you're dealing with your own bald-headed monkey in a wig today, or if you're missing a little guard dog of your own, just give yourself some grace, child. Lean into the things you used to love, even if it's just for 5 minutes today. First, thank you for listening, letting me talk about Ethel, and for sharing space with me. I need you guys to take care of yourselves out there. Keep participating, even in the smallest ways. And I'll talk to you next week if I don't decide to revisit previous content. So today I'm kind of struggling, y'all. And no, I'm not waterboarding myself. I'm just recording from the bathtub. And soaking in hot water is refreshing. And I still get a lot of work done from this spot. I need to turn this down a little bit because not only do I do a lot of work from here, I also watch my podcasts, other podcasts, etc. But this weekend has been a rainy weekend and I've gotten some things done. But I find in the quiet times, my grief sneaks back up on me. I don't necessarily scroll on social media because the algorithm shows me happier things. And one of them was a little corgi that I believe had abdominal surgery and was walking around with the stomach shaved and just kind of being cute and grumpy. And all I think of is if probably had the same type of blockage that Ethel had, and they were able to figure it out and fix it. And but they couldn't fix Ethel's. And got really mad and sad. But I still blame myself for them not being able to find it or look hard enough. I blame myself because I didn't force him to look harder. And she didn't want anything but her snacks. And for me to hold her. And all I had to do was ask them to do one thing. And they did. And I don't have her anymore. I'm stuck with memories, but I don't have my dog. I have her ashes. And I'm so mad about it. I don't know what's worse. Being alone or not being somebody's person. She was my dog, and I was her person. And I don't have that. So, if you get to this point, what do you got to do? I'm lucky I have a podcast. However, a lot of people don't have an outlet. But you have to sit with the feelings and deal with them. But you still can't stop. The trick is still going on, still doing things that would make your dog happy. Vacuum cleaning, stepping outside, let her run and trip up the stairs, but you can't stop. You want to stop, but you can't. You could be angry and you can ugly cry, but you still can't stop. You still have to do things to live, or just take the journey to find out what would give you satisfaction and would cause you to continue and to want to live. Because there's so much to do, there's so much to see and to be around. And the challenge is to continue to go on and continue to be happy. And it legit is okay. Finally, learning to really learn how to breathe. Grief comes in waves. The pain of the grief and the missing comes in waves. There's really not a trick, but it is effort to still move, clean, and do things. Because you can't sit in it. You can recognize it and still push through it. Not okay. It's real ghetto, and I hate it. But the trick really is recognizing that you're struggling and doing what you need to do to let it build, release it, and continue to live, and still continue to want to live and be happy to get to the other side. Fight to get to the other side. Being able to do that is a blessing. It sucks when you're going through it, but getting to the other side and seeing the light, which is not an oncoming train. The lightness, the happiness, it is going to come. But you still have to go through this period now, and that's okay. I keep saying it. Grief is ghetto. It's that ugly-ass monkey in a wig. But you still get through it. You have to. There's no choice. But this does suck. The struggle is real, and it can be real hard. We all have choices, and I'm just going to choose to deal with this and continue to live, because that's the bottom line.
Slow down the morning, speed up the soul. flavor delivered whole. FB Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away. Online, on time, oh so bold. Slow down the morning, speed up the soul. A world of flavor delivered whole. FB Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away. A world of flavor delivered whole. FB Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away. FB Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away. FB Roasters, your perfect cup, just a click away.
One day I'm going to learn how to operate Logic Pro correctly. But anyways, I've noticed in the last several weeks since I conceptualized of my Soul of the Valley retreat, people will interact with the intention of a social media post. They'll fill out a form. They'll actually RSVP to a live event, but they won't pull the trigger and actually registering for an event. However, I still get paid either way. If I get enough people to hate watch my videos on YouTube or reels on Instagram, they can hate watch me or just interact with me to a whole different tax bracket online. But I wish people would want to show up live to actually heal. But I guess you got to be cool with that. Meaning, even if you don't come and enjoy the pleasure of eating rainbow trout from Tennessee River, or enjoy Beaton's thick cut bacon for the farewell breakfast, you'll be able to hang out at least online and realize and get FOMO for what you miss in the great videos that I was able to create. So if you want to learn more, navigate to the link which is in the podcast notes, or just interact with my videos. And also just leave a comment wherever you listen to podcasts or wherever you view reels, on LinkedIn to Instagram. And thank you for your support. The long table isn't just for eating. It's the first step in surrendering the weights you've carried up the ridge. We've set a place for you to lay down the hustle and finally pick up the heavy, beautiful silence of the mountain. We start with a prayer, not just a simple gratitude for the plate, but a deep petition for peace. We are asking for permission to turn off the external noise and turn fully toward the stillness of the mountain. Every guest starts here. One card, one singular intention. Name exactly what you are here for. This is your sacred contract with yourself for the next 4 days. Once the ink hits the paper, it is law. The meal is as intentional as the movement we'll find tomorrow. Local rainbow trout, filleted tableside, a culinary reminder that some things in this life simply shouldn't be rushed. This is tactical luxury, served at a much slower, more meaningful altitude. Tonight, there is no agenda and absolutely no performance, just real talk about leading, existing, and finding the center again. We aren't mentors or CEOs here. We're just Dale's angels finally catching our breath. Welcome to the Soul of the Valley. The table is set. The intention is clear. The ridge is waiting for your return. Now, Baduanjin Qigong, 8 movements, each one a piece of silk for the mind and body. Developed in the 12th century, this practice moves stagnant energy and restores the flow of qi. Movement 1. 2 hands hold up the sky. This opens the triple warmer meridian, regulating the flow of energy through the organs and strengthening the immune system. Drawing the bow, this stimulates the lung meridian, improving the back, legs, arms, and eyesight. Separate heaven and earth. 1 hand reaches up, 1 presses down. This harmonizes the stomach and spleen, restoring the body center. The wise owl looks back. A gentle twist of the neck and spine improves circulation through the Dai and Chong meridians, releasing tension in the neck and back. Sway the head and shake the tail. This movement releases excess heat from the heart and regulates the function of the heart and lungs. Drive and clench the fists with fiery eyes. This movement releases tension, builds strength in the arms, waist, and legs, and sharpens the eyesight. 2 hands hold the feet, a deep stretch that strengthens the kidneys, the lower back, and the bones. It treats soreness and restores the waist. Bouncing on the toes, the final piece, a gentle shake that smooths out the qi, balances the body, and returns you to stillness. 8 pieces, 1 practice, a return to the self. The breath is the only bridge in between the rush you stepped away from and the quiet waiting here on the ridge. Golden light warms your skin, mist hugs the valley, and the gong hums beneath it all. You don't need an hour, you don't need a plan. You need these next few minutes and the willingness to come home to yourself. So settle in, let the place hold you, let your breath be the guide. Find your seat, root through your sit bones, lengthen your spine like the mountain behind you. Close your eyes if that feels right. Breathe in through your nose, low into the belly. Feel the ribs widen, chest follow. Hold for a beat, then release through your mouth, soft and long. Shoulders drop. Let each exhale be a little lighter than the last. Again, inhale, belly rises, ribs expand. Exhale, let go. 1 more full breath, steady and gentle. Keep the inhale slow, the exhale soften. Notice the gong beneath each cycle, steady and true. Now add movement with the breath. As you inhale, let your hands float up, palms open as if receiving light. Let the arms lift with ease, shoulders relaxed. On the exhale, guide the palms down, releasing anything heavy. Inhale, lift, feel space in the chest. Exhale, lower. Let tension melt toward the earth. Move slowly, 3 rounds, matching each rise and fall to the gong's cadence. Feel the rhythm build inside you. You're doing beautiful work just by breathing and moving. If you can, rise to standing, root your feet into the grass. Imagine roots reaching down. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, palms facing the sky, lengthen through the spine. Hold the lift for a breath, then exhale and fold forward from the hips, head heavy, surrendering. Inhale to a flat back. Sweep up, open the chest wide, arms spread like wings. Exhale, fold again, move with intention. The valley holds your breath with you, the gong underscoring each expansion and release. 1 more standing breath. Inhale deep, arms open wide, chest fully expanding. Feel the lungs fill, the ribs open, the heart soften. Hold here, just hold, sink into the fullness. Notice any edges, breathe into them. The gong swells, carrying the pause. When you're ready, begin a long, slow exhale. Hinge forward, let the breath lead you down, hands to the earth or to your shins, wherever feels steady. Walk your feet back, fold softly, then with an inhale, rise up and return to a seat. Cross your legs gently, rest your hands on your knees, soften the face, close your eyes. Take a moment to notice the change in your body and mind. Now breathe naturally, belly rising, belly falling, no doing, no fixing, just presence. Let the gong fade like a thought drifting away while the calm stays. Carry this steadiness with you off the deck into the day. When your attention wanders, come back here to life, to the bridge of breath. Let calmness settle, soul of the valley, you made it back. Before the world wakes in the quiet hush that blankets the mountains, there is a space just for you, a moment suspended in time, steeped in the soft, golden light of dawn. Here the air is crisp and still, carrying the promise of a new day. It's an invitation to simply be, to connect with the silence that exists both outside and within. This is where your day truly begins, not with the rush of the world, but with the gentle rhythm of your own breath, a silent conversation with the universe. Inhale, drawing in peace, filling your lungs with the cool, clean air of the summit. Feel the energy of the morning sun warming your skin. And now exhale, releasing all that no longer serves you, letting go of yesterday's worries and tomorrow's plans. With each cycle of breath, you arrive more fully in the present. This is morning clarity. Now carry this stillness with you as you move. Let the tranquility of the mountain infuse every gesture the earth offers its gifts. Rosemary for remembrance of this peace. Ginger for inner fire. Warmth, this is your morning, your ritual, a simple act of nourishment, a ceremony crafted by your own hands. In these quiet moments, you find your morning. In finding your morning, you find yourself. We started with a contract, a single word written in the dark of Thursday night. This morning, we picked those cards back up, not to see if we won, but to see how we've shifted. The intention wasn't a goal, it was a homecoming. The highlight of this morning is the bread ceremony. We don't slice, we break. It's the oldest way of saying I see you. It's the physical act of sharing the work, the rest, and the fulfillment of a weekend. It's messy, it's grounding, and it's holy. Then the fuel for the descent. Benton's bacon, smoked by the mountain air, avocado toast that tastes like the earth itself. Every bite is a reminder that luxury is tactical. It's meant to nourish the empire you're about to go back and lead. You leave the ridge a little softer than you came. The bread is broken, the valley is quiet. Go back, but don't go back to the old you. The soul of the valley stays with you as you enter the new day as a new you.
Let's calibrate the frequency on this one. The swamp is crowded, full of underfed, frozen-faced predators, snapping at marbles, desperate to be the chosen editors. They call it a lifestyle, but the game is just a rigged simulation. A no-win test designed to force a toxic confrontation. But the operator arrived with a full-blown session. No damsel in this room, no victim waiting for a cape. Just a mogul in the shadows, measuring the shape. Let's calibrate the frequency on this one.
I am watching arguably one of the most highly rated, stellar seasons of documentary TV, Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 9. This is where reality TV was at its peak. I wasn't too highly impressed with the 20th season of Real Housewives of OC because the OC girls started it all. And I remember second up was Real Housewives of Atlanta, and Nene Leakes famously said there was no reference point because Atlanta and Orange County, two different worlds, both just as pretentious. And with all of its charm or whatever, OC still is OC. It's hearkening back to the more toxic traits or parts of reality TV. Heather Dubrow is way underweight. You cannot tell me her stick arms, where you can actually see her tendons, is not sexy. She's skeletal, something, I don't know if she is medically ill or she just needs to stop taking Ozempic. I'm not impressed with Emily's big head. I wish Tamra Judge would just say fuck it and turn up. I'm not as impressed with any of them. Why is Vicky Govison looking like a fetal alcohol syndrome kid with that slick upper lip? What is wrong with Shannon Bedore? Why is she acting like a patient with Wernicke's encephalopathy? I don't know. I'll probably watch the recaps with Carlos and Bubble It on YouTube, but I'm not as impressed or hooked into that. What I'm also not really all that invested in is watching another couple of episodes of In the City and Amanda Fatula hyperventilating because the husband that she chose to stay with is cheating on her or staying out all night, knowing what we know now. Even so, and what really set me off is Summer House has received an Emmy nomination for that garbage. I get it. The whole Sierra betrayal, the whole Amanda West hook. That's why it makes it harder or difficult to basically be invested in the city, knowing what I know now. And I still can't see at its peak. Real Housewives of Atlanta this season trumps that garbage and even the scandal of it all on 10. I'm watching these beautiful Black women basically just give it their all. I'm watching Candy just being real and just how much Phaedra hated her. So this is what it is. And it's so infuriating. And it also, I want to just point out the biggest double standard in television history. Season 9 of Real Housewives of Atlanta featured the Dungeon Lie, which actually Candy ended up making award-winning, sold-out performance show. And then we ended up having the first 4 parts, episode reunion that was more like a legal thriller. And then we watched the downfall of the snake, Phaedra Parks. But it never touched an Emmy stage. We're talking about one of the highest rated seasons before and after and since, and a 4-part reunion. But Summer House snags an Emmy nomination for the BS, mediocre Amanda West drama. That's so wild to me. And it's infuriating. It comes down with a mix of the shifting of the Emmy politics, the true darkness of the heaviness of the drama, and how massive generational change and how Television Academy views Bravo. People ignored the entire Real Housewives franchise for almost 2 decades. For years, the outstandard unstructured reality program category was gatekept by stuff like Love on the Spectrum and RuPaul's Drag Race Untucked. It wasn't until Vanderpump, of course, a white Bravo show, broke through with the scandal that Emmy voters finally woke up to Bravo. They were talking about it on The View, and it was all over the place. They realized that these long-running, messy ensemble shows were pulling off elite levels of editing, pacing, and documentary-style storytelling. Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 9 aired between 2016 and 2017, long before the Emmy voters considered Bravo to be anything more than a cheap, guilty pleasure trash. Summer House is reaping the benefits of the door that Real Housewives of Atlanta kicked open but was never allowed to walk through. Soap opera mess versus legally hazardous heaviness. I'm not going to say darkness because I'm trying to change my vocabulary that darkness or blackness or that is equate it to evil. I want heaviness, dysfunction, those things to be equated to evil. Because you could be white as hell and still be evil as hell. Or you can look like Phaedra and come back with better wig and makeup and still be a snake. Watch out. Summer House, the relationship between Amanda Batula and Mediocre West amid a separation from Kyle Cook is ultimate ecosystem drama. It's messy. It involves broken trust, a fractured friend group, but ultimately it's more classic and a digestible romantic soap opera. That dungeon lie, Phaedra Lie wasn't just reality TV drama. It was highly dangerous because her false allegations of attempted drugging and sexual assault against Candy Burris and Todd Tucker was just massive. It was massive liability for the network. She was fired immediately, and it was just a severe corporate headache. But Candy basically walked away with the bag 10 times over. She got several spinoffs. They really did protect her, but they weren't messing around with Phaedra's comeback. Candy had to firmly leave the franchise before they would even consider getting Phaedra's lying ass back on. They just didn't want to deal with the legal crisis that really threatened the safety of the cast and the network, because Candy really could have shut it down because that lie was horrible. Emmys basically reward producers and editors and not really the cast anyways, because the production team shapes the narrative across a whole season. Summer House, they would just leave in breadcrumbs that showed shifting timelines, the hushed conversations, and the subtle betrayals, culminating in that reunion, which was kind of what was expected, but it was actually muted from the heyday of the screaming and the dragging of it all that was result of multiple reunions in the Real Housewives sphere, but I digress. Season 9, we didn't really get the heaviness or the legal ramifications of that lie because Portia and Phaedra did a really good job initially of keeping the conversations off screen and under belt. We really didn't really start seeing into episode maybe 14 or 15 when Candy basically cussed out Portia. Then they went to Maui and then Candy cussed out Portia again. And then we saw Candy was pleading to the person that basically started the lie. She was like, Phaedra, you know what this is. Why? And Phaedra was like, I know, just calm down. Everybody was trying to calm down. But Phaedra Parks was the orchestrator of this career empire ending lie for jealousy. Everybody underestimated the cultural impact, the ratings, and the shock value of how Real Housewives of Atlanta, in particular season 9, bought and made for the culture. Summer House could never dream of that versus comparing to Real Housewives of Atlanta. But they were before their time. This is the Real Housewives girl. They were too early, too heavy for the stuffy Emmy voters in the late 20 teens. Real Housewives of Atlanta was that girl then and there. And why? The why of it all. Phaedra Parks made up that lie. But why? It was the lie that she manufactured just wasn't typical reality TV shade. It was malicious, career ending, and legally hazardous. You can't accuse someone of attempting drugging and sexual assault and think you're just going to get away with it. A couple of point out that it was pointed out to me. At that same time, T.I., who is making the biggest comeback, would let him know and his wife Tiny, who also co-wrote many of his hits and also was an award-winning writer, just like Candy. They were going through their own sexual assault allegations at that time. Bill Cosby had just been not only accused, but also convicted and had been jailed. Surviving R. Kelly would be several years down the line, but all of those things were interplay. Candy had been in the industry long enough, and she was well aware of what those types of allegations were. And that's why she would never be associated with anything, and she always admitted to that's why she didn't drink. But when you look back with why she had many jobs, would do something just so hurtful, why would a practicing attorney completely self-destruct and weaponize something so dangerous against someone that she actually caused a friend? It was just an ugly combination of deep personal resentment, somewhat producer manipulation, because they're going to get a good story on screen, but were they really, they don't basically, you can't edit in bad behavior. You just don't do it. And she was just so desperate to keep her own image intact. But why didn't she just shift like Portia? When all the wigs fell off, Portia divorced Cordell, and the Duke of it all and the Todd of Stewart of it all. Why didn't she just admit she was Apollo Nida's jump off? But she just wanted to present, I'm such a good girl. I represented Bobby Brown a decade before. I am that girl. I got money, kinda, but I don't have the long money of Candy Burris. I'm not perfect, but here I am. Why didn't she just lean into that? And why is she trying to lean into it now? And she's 50 years old, girl. You about 15 years too late. You about 15 horrible lies too late. We don't care now. It all comes down to Candy did not support her like Portia did. Because Portia during that time was thirsty. And Candy was supposed to be legitimize her pain. But Candy was looking at her like she was crazy, because Candy, one thing she doesn't do is lie. And she's going to say, look, girl, she tried. She basically tried. But if you don't give her anything and she really knows the truth, she wears the truth on her face. Because she was really looking at her and like she used to look at Nene. It was so funny. And it was just so petty. Phaedra was mad at that because Candy wouldn't support the lie. Candy and Todd, it was mostly Todd, allowed Apollo to store his assets in their garage, which Phaedra viewed as a direct act of treason. But not only did Peter do the same thing, in their garage, he actually got rid of the car before the feds could come knocking. And then, because Candy wasn't buying into Phaedra crying at home over the loss of Apollo, because she really was already dating and planning a life with another man even before Apollo checked into federal prisons. I think she was a reactionary abuser, and that's what we call similar to, if the term had been prevalent at that time, and what we caught on scene before Apollo checked into prison, you would have saw Phaedra Parks similarly described as a reactionary abuser, just like the Amanda Fatula of it all. But that's a discussion for another day. Candy cracked Phaedra's carefully curated Southern Belle facade. Phaedra was vindictive and calculating, and she wanted a lie so severe to destroy Candy's global brand, her family, and her multi-million-dollar empire. But God, because for years we talked about Phaedra was squirming and said she was told by a high-ranking executive producer, Carlos King, off camera about that particular lie. But other sleuths basically came up with the fact that they probably had a roundtable discussion about the T.I. and Tiny of it all, and Phaedra grasped in her way of taking something. She knew something like that would topple Candy, but she also knew from a legal standpoint she couldn't set the bomb. But this radioactive lie and reveal it on national TV, she couldn't do it, but she used Portia as a pawn to drop it. What she wasn't intending was for Portia basically to reveal her source. And I think that's why she froze, because she completely underestimated the stupidity of Portia. And she also knew that she couldn't break the fourth wall per se and say production told me this, because production told her something, but it probably wasn't this. But she used that information to twist it, to use it as fodder to twist it to put Candy on blast, because this was just too convoluted. And do I think she was vindictive and snaky enough to do it on her own? Yes. Would I think production would have told her to be that convoluted when they couldn't even spell or pronounce convoluted? No. But were they going to capture all the mess? Yes. So with that said, the why of it all. Phaedra hated Candy Burris. She envied her success. And it wasn't just about Apollo. It wasn't just about the garage or the post-divorce fallout. These were just excuses. She envied Candy Burris's authentic structural wealth versus her own performative facade. When Candy walked onto that show in season 2, she already had a Grammy, she had songwriting royalties, and a commanding industry respect. We saw her even get multiple awards while she was still on the show. We saw her acting on The Chi. So she didn't need the show to prove she was rich. The show needed her for credibility. Candy's wealth was tangible, operational, and completely secure, even though her family was a trip, and especially her mama. And she married a producer of the show who was already working. But he was also scamming too and playing the long game. But he did it legally and didn't go to jail. On the other hand, Phaedra arrived in season 7 lying. She was elite, multi-hyphenated Southern Belle mogul, but she was screwing her ex-con husband on the floor on an air mattress. She had all these different jobs to cobble together shaky facade of a mogul, hiding behind layers of organza hats, over-the-top parties, and scripture quotes, but it all was built on a shaky and transactional brand and ground. Phaedra's brand required her to be the smartest, most accomplished, and the most prestigious Black woman in the room, but Candy, with her authentic self, disrupted that narrative. She didn't have to try, and it infuriated Phaedra. Candy was generating millions in her sleep from actual intellectual property, while Phaedra was hustling backwards, relying on shady clients like Angela Stanton, who later wrote a book about her ties to an underground car theft ring, and create business empires based on funeral homes that never materialized. And you knew with his soft hands, Apollo wasn't buying into that because he thought it was weird, just like we did. And he wanted the lifestyle, but he didn't want to do anything to work for it by eating cans of Beanie Weenies. He didn't think, he just was lack of class, hood Negro, but he was fine. And he looked like he had great sex, but he was just a fuck boy that married a lawyer, and then she changed her mind because he was too much trouble. When Phaedra could not look down on Candy, She took to mocking her style, her regular aesthetic, her family, but she could not touch Candy's bank account or her industry legacy. The biggest joke on the legal streets in Atlanta and in Georgia is if Phaedra Parks was representing you, you were going to jail. Bobby Brown famously said that after years of her being his legal representation. When Candy exposed the truth about Phaedra's fake grieving process regarding Apollo, she shattered the last piece of the illusion. And Phaedra just didn't want to hurt Candy. She wanted to destroy Candy with a lie malicious enough to completely strip Candy of the one thing Phaedra envied most: Candy's unimpeachable, hard-earned success. Because Phaedra didn't become a halfway star until she walked on Real Housewives of Atlanta, but it was because of Nene and definitely because of the credibility that Candy lended to the show that would eventually make her a star. But she forgot about herself when she concocted that lie that landed her in the doghouse with the network for 7 years. She played herself at the worst case of emotional chicken. And she piled it on, she covered it up, but the basis of, and her weapon for it was the tool was supposed to be Portia. Portia was supposed to take the fall, which was also horrible, and leave Phaedra in the dark. But Portia also was smart enough to say, I'm not going to die on this mountain by myself because I have the lawyer Phaedra Parks backing me up. Because she always said somebody told her this. And then she says this person that told her this basically said she heard it from the source, but she was lying the whole time. I don't think Portia was ever supposed to basically reveal her source. And that was what Phaedra was banking on. But she got played, and she got played big. And the truth came out on national TV to an explosion. And she couldn't explain it because she wasn't prepared for it, because it wasn't supposed to go down like that. But the authenticity of this reality TV, you also can't deny. Reality TV gold. It was malicious. It was hurtful. It was downright evil. And it also brought an abrupt end to her reality TV run for almost a decade. Candy had to leave in order for the network to consider getting her back on. And now she's sitting up there looking truly like a church mouse with a better wig. I don't know, girl. It's a trip. It's a trip. You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happy you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of FAFFO has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. ah, 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 What? What, y'all? What? What?